Okay, we are live. Hey, everybody. Beautiful Friday evening here with the insurance panel. Very, very excited about this video, highly anticipated video. We've talked about bringing guests on, and the two guys that were all of us kind of pointed the same direction and said this guy. So everybody knows me, Matthew Murray, Security National Life. Everybody knows Nick Frumpkin, what he does, how he does it. Everybody knows Chris Smith, how he does, what he does it. But I don't want to do a disservice to the guest that we have here. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. JD, if you want to come on, kind of tell us who you are, where you came from. And I know we're in sales, so you can talk all day. But how long you've been doing final expense, what your focus is, and just kind of tell us how you got here today.
Well, first, John Duggar. I'm based in Western Kentucky. I've been in insurance now for, as an independent agent, this is my 15th year. Started in mortgage protection. Well, I actually started captive with American General. That didn't work out, but I ended up, first place I ever got leads was through mortgage protection, NAA. And, when leads got short there, I ended up going into doing a lot of Medicare Advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I added final expense, kind of a natural sale to that. And then when the MIPA stuff came in 2008, that was kind of the handwriting on the wall that it wasn't going to work for me. So I was looking for other things and met Travis Tubbs, and he told me he was going to this company that had leads, and which is our lifeblood, and
that's right.
Told me to come with him, or asked me to come with him, and actually I was very hesitant to, because of course, that was the FS at the time, but I had an experience with mortgage protection with EMG, Equitable Mortgage Group.
Sure.
I think that's what they called it. And it wasn't a pleasant experience, so I didn't really want to do it. He said, well, this side is different and everything, so, but I didn't have anything to do. I was wanting out of the Medicare Advantage, and so I said, I'll give it a shot. And now I'm in my 11th year of focusing, final expense.
Wow.
Turned out to be a great move to do that with Travis and
sure.
So
sure. So
I'm in my 15th year now of insurance, but the last 10 years of that has been strictly final expense.
Sure. So I mean, this is we're going to be talking about a perfect topic. I know you said you're not prepared, but you're probably the most prepared out of all of us, because the topic is, why do agents fail? Right. And as we know, there's a statistic out there that like 92% of agents fail out in the first, year or 2 years of the business.
Yeah, that's the number that keeps getting tossed around.
It keeps getting
less than 10% of agents make it into their second year.
Yep.
Across all lines, not
all
just
lines.
Final expense.
That's right. That's right. But our topic is, why do agents fail? So I kind of want to ask systematically, every one of you guys, in a couple words, why do you think that agents fail? John or JD, I'm going to call you JD now since I know you. JD, in a couple words, just 1 to 2 words, if you could say 1 or 2 words, why do agents fail?
It's hard to say in a couple words.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make you elaborate too.
Lack of focus, if you're going just a few
sure.
words.
Yeah, lack of focus. So, I mean, expand on that, because, I think we did one not too long ago, or just last week, and Nick was talking about having so many carrier lineups, and he said, hey, just focus on 1 or 2 carriers and get really good at those, and then add as you need filled. So kind of goes right into that, lack of focus. Can you expound a
don't know
little
where
bit
they
on
got
lack
that.
of?
Yeah, I don't know where I got that from either, JD.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So he got it right. I know where he got it from. So expound a little bit on, lack of focus if you want to, if you've got some words of wisdom for everybody watching, because there's going to be a lot of people watching this. A lot of people are excited that you're here, man.
Well, and not just lack of focus. Another part of it would probably be unrealistic expectations.
Okay.
Yeah, and I blame the marketers for a lot of that.
Yeah.
That was the, they tell everybody, and a prior IMO I was at used to use me as an example, and would tell people I work 2 days a week and write $200,000.
Right.
And I used to tell them, if you're going to say I work 2 days a week, which basically I'm in the field 2 days a week, and the non-field days are actually the work days. So I just said, well, I'm in the field usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I would tell them, well, if you're going to say I work 2 days, make it Monday and Wednesday, because that's where the work is.
Mm-hmm.
But, people don't hear when they would tell them that. They don't hear he worked in the field 2 days. They hear he only works 2 days.
Right.
So that sets an agent up too, that buys into that it's easy.
Right.
So then there's the unrealistic expectations of that. And, of course, you've got a lot of reasons that agents don't make it, especially in final expense. It's such a different market, and people don't understand it. The vast majority of IMOs don't understand the market at all, and none of the companies understand it that are in the final expense market. And so I'm just narrowing the focus today to the final expense. I couldn't give you a clue of why an annuity agent doesn't make it, or a long-term care agent.
Right.
But the biggest problem I see from the people that come into this business are agents that have prior sales.
Mm.
And even more so, it seems they have a harder time if their prior sales are insurance sales. And they just they won't unlearn. That's something we say on our group meeting all the time when agents come in, and you have to unlearn what you think you know. And most of them won't. They just, when you get the car sales guys or the home improvement guy, for some reason, it seems the home improvement people move to final expense at a greater percentage for some reason.
What do they do wrong? Like, what is it that looks like it's a transferable skill set, but absolutely doesn't work in this market?
They just don't really understand the people of the final expense. These are the true one percenters. They didn't get to be 65, 75 years old and not have their funerals taken care of because they've been good with money or they've been planners. They're world-class procrastinators.
All right.
It's I fell into it pretty well because I came from that. I was I didn't know we were on Medicaid when I was a kid. We didn't know it was called Medicaid. We called it my mom called it a health card.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came from labor. I'm a union guy, and I got into this by accident, as I tell my clients. They closed the plant. And I found out I had a bad habit. I had to eat. I could have moved with the company. I didn't want to move because I showed horses. If you can see in the background, horses are a big part of my life. And but everything steered me to insurance is how I got into it because I handled the benefits for the local. So I knew insurance talk. And that's why everything steered me to insurance when I was trying to get a job. And of course, I didn't want to do insurance because when you deal with insurance companies on a daily basis, you develop a healthy dislike of insurance companies.
Right.
Like I said, I had a habit, I had to eat.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that a lot of,
yeah,
think
but
a lot of
as we
people,
got into that, but see when you talk with that people, but see, I was the same way. Now I think I might not be there, but the only life insurance I had was what they had at the plant, at the company.
Right.
And so now I see the same people, you know, for the grace of God go I, so I can talk to them and relate to them on that level. When people tell me, well, I didn't take care of this. I said, I understand, no, but I didn't either. Thank God I didn't die back then. That my family would have been, in a bad way. And I think that most people just don't, especially coming from other verticals. You hear that all the time. I heard somebody say this week that sales are sales, and they were talking about in selling by phone, but they were saying if you can sell by phone, then you can sell this and stuff. Well, that's obviously coming from a person who's never sold even one final expense policy.
That's
and then
right.
you get the other experts that sell other lines, they sell Medicare supplements, they sell term by phone, they sell other things, and maybe they've sold a final expense policy along the way. Now they think they're a final expense expert. They start an IMO and start hiring agents, and you're going to fail if you follow those people.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
So
Chris,
that's a big mistake.
Yeah. Chris had a point he wanted to bring up. What were you going to say, Chris?
I think I was saying that understanding the people is a big key to selling insurance to the people. Working in the urban market as a paramedic for 10 years, I took these people to the hospital. I was in the neighborhood and I dealt with the situations, and I'm getting them before they end up in the hospital now, but the culture wasn't unusual to me. Right. I think a lot of folks give the client too much of a benefit of the doubt. Oh, they are going to call me tomorrow. They are thinking about it. They just said, come back tomorrow because today wasn't a good day. And they're not understanding that all of these things are flat nonsense. And today's the day to do anything or never see them again.
Poor guys have a really bad cough today. Come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So do I, Nick, but today's the day I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way I got into insurance was I was actually a finance manager for we'll call it, for lack of a better term, a loan shark company. It was one that if you couldn't qualify for a bank, but you didn't want to go to a title max. Does that make sense? So really high up there, consumer loans, and it was the same exact people. They had $1,500 in it. They're people. There's $1,500 a month. And my job when they didn't make their payment was to go out in the bloody streets and knock on doors and collect checks.
You were a leg breaker?
Do what?
You used to go break people's legs for money?
Yeah, man. I was a loan shark, for lack of a better term. But I would go to the house and I would knock on their door and I'd talk to them and say, why didn't you make the payment? Or I'd call them and they'd give me all kinds of excuses. And I'd say, look, you're a man of your word. You told me you're going to be here. I need you to be here today. And so whenever they told me I had to go knock on doors and they thought it was going to be scary for me, right? I was like, are you serious? That's all I got to do is go knock on doors and talk to people? Like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, where do I go next? So it was an easy transition for me because it was the same market that I was into in finance. I was just doing something better for the client. And I was like, man, I get to sleep well at night and I get to make more money. Sign me up,
Well, and it helps for somebody like you. I mean, you had that ability to do that. You were willing to say, they said, this is what you need to do. And you went out and you did what you were supposed to do. And that does seem to be another big reason why people don't make it, especially when they do come from other types of sales, is especially when they come from other types of sales, they have a way that they're used to doing things. They have a system that they're used to working. They have a process they're used to going through. And they don't sell out to the new system that they're in. They try to hold on to what they had been doing before, when it doesn't always make sense, especially with final expense, because JD's right. It's a completely different thing.
Right.
They don't do the things that you need to do to be successful with these people. They let people think about it. They don't set the appointments. They don't go knock on doors. I don't know what they do, but they're not doing the things that the successful people in the industry have told them that they need to do. There's a guy that I work with who will say repeatedly, it's not an easy business, but it's a business that's been figured out. There is a trail that has been blazed that works. If you're going to follow the system, it works. Mm-hmm. And I know we had a couple of guys leave our group recently who had come from other verticals and who were very successful and are no longer with us because they couldn't get over that particular hump.
I think the bumper sticker says success leaves clues, and whatever you're going to do, whatever system it is, captive, independent, FE, whatever, do exactly what the person that brought you in and is hopefully successful is doing, and do that first. It's the people that insist about recreating the wheel that fail out. And that's one of my 4 points is they don't follow the system. If there isn't a system, that's a problem. But if you decide that you're not going to do what other people are doing, you can't blame them for your failure.
Other successful people.
Other successful people.
Yeah.
It's got to be somebody successful.
It's easy to follow that one that's not successful.
Well, and those are the ones that are most likely to try and hit you up to recruit you, unfortunately.
Yeah, that path has been cleared too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the best challenges in that sense is if you're going to trust your finances or your family's finances or your kids' finances to somebody, get in the car with them and watch them do the business before you make a commitment. And if they're not willing to do that or you're not willing to do that, then that isn't what you should be doing.
No, that's absolutely right. I know everybody else was talking about how they got into final expense. I got into final expense. I had been captive selling a different line of insurance. And was recruited by somebody that I knew who was not successful. He'd been in the business about 3 months, but I'd known him from my previous insurance agency. And I'd actually posted about this on the insurance forums. I went and looked it up the other day for unrelated reasons. And was telling the story of this guy who was trying to recruit me away from the insurance company that I was with, and got feedback from people who I actually know now, but saying that this sounds like a disaster. The guy's only been in the business 3 months. They don't have a sales system that they're willing to put you with. The contracts actually weren't bad. They were 100% contracts, which, I was coming from a 45% contract, so that was amazing. But it was a recipe for disaster because I didn't have somebody that could teach me what to do, because the guy who was going to be teaching me, he didn't know what he was doing either. And I went on a ride along with him, and there was, like, every house we talked about different things. We said different things. There was no kind of presentation. It was a different thing every time. And I ultimately didn't end up going with them because of that. And it was a good decision. It got me interested in final expense. It's how I ended up where I am now, because I started looking for other areas. And I posted that thread on the insurance forums and was recommended to talk to a couple of other people. One of them turned out to be Scott Burke, who ultimately I ended up going with him and Travis Tubbs. But that you got to have, well, I think it's JD that has said this more than anybody, is actually, this is not a business that can be taught to you by somebody who doesn't do it. If you aren't selling final expense, you cannot teach somebody how to sell final expense. It's not something that a marketer can teach you. There are other types of insurance where that may be true. I don't know. I don't do other types of insurance. I do final expense. But if the person who's training you isn't out in the field and isn't able to sell, you're in trouble. And that's not
a lot of it. Yeah. You're in a ton of
People
trouble.
They won't sell out and learn. And was what I did. I never sold anything in my life, and didn't even think I could. And if my mom was still alive, she'd still tell you right now, I can't believe that boy's selling anything. I got into their system, and the story they always told, I'll say that in a second. But I learned the Hudgens system inside out, word for word. They were on cassette tapes then, 15 years ago, and driving the horse show that drove my wife crazy. If she could come in here now, she'd tell you the same thing. She had to listen to them too. So I guess she knows the Hudgens system too. And but word for word, and I memorized it, and that's what I did. And the story they would tell was that I said I was going to do it their way so I could blame them if I didn't make it. I don't remember saying that, but that makes a good story, so I'll go along with it. But I learned the think about it, the I love you, the everything, and develop and did them. And of course, as I learned, and it was surprisingly it worked. And in my first 5 leads a week, my first full month selling mortgage protection, I did 12,000 AP.
Wow.
5 leads a week, my first month, going out and saying the lines I've been taught. And so that helps you, if you have success at what they're teaching you, you will keep doing it because you've seen yourself it works. And, but I just see so many, and now I dropped things that I didn't like about it as I got a little experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love you was one of the first things to go, but I still today use a lot of that teaching that I got then, and I see that with these agents coming in all the time. They all want to reinvent the wheel instead of just. I mean, if you've chosen an IMO, of course I'm partial to FEX, but it doesn't matter if you choose FEX or another. You chose that IMO for a reason. And they have successful people in that. And obviously they have a system where you wouldn't have been there. Do what they say. Do how they do. I mean, if what you do is working, you don't need them.
Right.
It's not working, so you're there. So follow that. But agent, if you want to say why do they not make it? Because they won't do that. They just will not follow the system. It's in place. FEX, a short commercial for them. In 2018, they had 3 $300,000 producers, about 12 $200,000 producers, and 40 or 50 more $100,000 producers. It's a system that works.
Right.
Other IMOs have the same thing, and if you'll follow it. I don't know of anyone that's followed it that didn't have, now maybe they didn't have the success they wanted, but that's subjective. But if you follow the system, I tell people that, Travis teaches what I call a holistic approach to training and the approach to final expense, and that means do everything right, do everything perfectly. There's no small things. He talks, don't say words to be saying words, have a meaning. And, and if you'll buy in and you may not ever get to be what, that Travis Tubbs is, or a Nick Frumpkin, which, Nick, to me, I think is the best agent we have at FEX.
That's right, the GOAT.
But but just to, plug into the system, we have the group me chat where you can be and stuff with agents. And I'm not saying that's exclusive to FEX. I know other groups have that, but buy into whoever you're with and just do that. And that's the biggest thing. Agents just refuse to do that. I don't get it because, man, I mean, if I'd have known that you could make this kind of money and work in the kind of schedule I do,
I'd
have got into it more than 15 years ago.
Yeah. No, I mean, no one goes to bed at night praying that they want to sell final expense commission on commission only basis 100%. You know what I mean? Nobody Nobody
Well,
falls
grew up
asleep.
wanting to be a final expense agent.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it didn't. It all falls into somebody's lap. They got recruited. They found it some type of way. I mean, mine is close to Nick's story, how I got in. Someone else I knew who eventually washed out of the business, they got me in. So it just came like that. What I found where most people fail in their business is it's very tough for them to comprehend, okay, I've got to pay for leads now in order to get paid later. They're scared to invest in their own business. And the marketers do an either really great or really awful job of saying this is your own business. But when it comes time to buy $600 or $1,000 worth of marketing costs, all of a sudden, well, I get paid in 2 weeks or this, that, and the third. Everybody's excited to go to work until it's time to go to work, which is let's go get some leads and get bloody in the streets. They want something for free, and they have a hard time investing in their business. Or when they finally get paid their first $5,000 week and they get paid that money, they don't want to spend another $600 to $700 reinvested back in their business. They think, oh, well, I've got a few more leads anyways. I had a great week. I don't need to do that. And now 3 weeks later, that person comes to me because they're broke. They spent all their money because they went on a cruise and they didn't reinvest in their business 3 weeks ago like I told them to.
Well,
And
Matt,
go
I
ahead.
think the perfect example there is we just talked about someone who doesn't follow the system. The next
Sure.
one is someone who's working in a disadvantaged system where all the right things aren't in their spot. Either the leads are over expensive, the leads are resold, the comp is weak, the product is uncompetitive, the products are limited, the training is focused on mortgage protection, but they dabble in final expense. There is a system, but it is not going to save the movable middle. Winners will always win whatever they do. Losers are going to lose, but there are a lot of people in the middle that if you give them the right system and all the system works in their favor, they're going to survive right in the middle. It's like
Right.
Some of your clients are always going to buy, some will never buy, but you'll get rich off the movable middle. So there's people that don't follow the system and people that started like you guys in a disadvantaged system that wasn't prone to easier success.
But I didn't know I started in a bad system.
Nobody did.
5% contract, and at that time it was $14 leads, which was a pretty good price.
Yeah.
But, hell, I thought that was wonderful. I couldn't even understand how they were paying me 65%. Because you don't know when you start out.
Nobody does.
And I moved fairly quickly to 80%, but that was as high as you could go without having an agency.
Right.
Within 6 or 8 months, I was at 80%. And I still couldn't even imagine how they were paying me 80%, because in your mind as a non-insurance person, you're thinking, well, there's only 100%.
Right,
so,
yeah.
They're paying me 80, and the guy ahead of me has to be making something, and the company has to make something too. So it blew my mind the first time I ever got a 100% contract.
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible? And but you can make money on those contracts. Of course, with the system I began in, as your contract went up, so did your lead cost. When I left there, I was at 80% contract, but I was at $28 leads. And you're talking 12, 13 years ago,
Right.
I think there's $60 there now.
But they had a system that I followed, and you could make money. But of course, I'll make more money now. But now you don't. But agents today don't have to start that way. There's just too many places out there that you can start at street, because our street is very subjective about, one agency may call street 100% and another call street 110, but or they'll try to tell agents that 85 is street, and
Right. You got to earn 100%.
Yeah,
You don't.
The craziest story I ever heard, and I heard this on an audio, and this guy was teaching his marketers how to sell, to recruit. And this story was, yeah, you can go out there and start at 110% at some IMOs, but it's better to start them at 85% with the ability to move to 110 than to start at 110. And I'm thinking, who in the world buys that? And then but this place is very successful, and they recruit a lot, but they lose a lot too. So basically, my thinking on that, and I might be wrong, I don't have any agents under me, so maybe they're right and I'm wrong. But to me, I'm thinking that the agent that buys that pitch is too stupid to work for you anyway. I mean, and I don't want that. I don't want the person working for me that thinks I offered him a good deal to start at 85% with the ability to move to 110 rather than starting you at 110. Somebody could shed some light on why that's a good deal, but to me, I just don't get it.
Well, somebody literally said on the interwebs of misinformation today that an agency level contract was between 75 and 90%. And if you say it on the internet, all of a sudden it must be true, but it isn't. It isn't. And we can all say from working on a lower contract that yes, you can make money on it. And the number might seem inconsequential when you're comparing them and you're making a decision. When you're actually writing on it, it's substantially different. So an agent that isn't a superstar, that is just squeaking by at $3,000 of submitted business a week, it's substantially different doing that on 100 versus doing that on a 75. And the only reason I could possibly fathom that they're on a low number is they're just buried in a hierarchy between the friend that brought him in and the friend that brought him in and the guy that stopped selling and is living off of the team of 10. It's just, that's my thoughts on it at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll start to wrap up here. So to kind of generalize, and Nick, we haven't heard from you in like at least 10 minutes. I mean,
there's been a lot of other people having good things to say. I mean, I didn't feel like I needed to interrupt.
I know, but you're part of this, so let's get you in here.
So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff that gets said on the internet. I mean, don't even believe us. Like people say nutty stuff. But people. Especially when you're on one of those low contracts, the biggest problem for one of those low contracts is that usually the low contract, not always unfortunately, but usually the low contract comes with free or financed leads, and it handcuffs people. They get completely dependent on the people that are financing their leads. They rack up lead debt, or they're just not making any money because those free leads that you're giving up 40 points for are absolutely the most expensive leads you will ever buy in your life. I was talking to somebody the other day who contacted me because they watched our Let's Talk About Comp video. And they said, hey, actually I was thinking, I want to get into this business and I really want to be with an agency that's got good comp, but I can't start a lead program right now. So I need to go with somebody who's going to finance leads. Do you have suggestion for somebody who's got an agency where they offer free or finance leads that's trustworthy? And I didn't really know what to tell them. And this person was like, I really want like a 110 contract, but I understand I'll have to give that up to get the free leads, but I can't spend money to buy leads every week right now. And I don't know what to tell people who say this. I recommend that you not be broke when you get into this industry, except I don't know anybody who wasn't broke when they got into this industry. I was so broke when I got into this industry.
Me too.
I borrowed money for my first 3 lead drops from a family member. And in retrospect, it's like that was only like $1,200 that I borrowed. Maybe it was like $1,800 that I borrowed. It seemed like such a monumental sum of money to me at that point that I I was ashamed that I was asking for this money, but I needed some way to get my leads started because that much had been drilled into my head. You need to be able to buy leads. And I knew, because I had been offered a reasonable contract, I knew that once I got a couple of lead drops going, and I was dropping drops per thousand. I wasn't on a fixed lead program then like I am now. But I knew once I got a couple of lead drops going and I started getting leads coming in, it only took one sale for me to make back my money.
Mm-hmm.
And I had enough faith in myself that I knew that I would make at least one sale and I was going to break even. And I was probably going to make two and make a little bit of money. And that was kind of my worst case scenario. So I borrowed the money. I know people who put those first lead orders on credit cards. I know people who went out, Chris. I know people who went out and bought, like 700 B leads for like 25 cents a pop and went out and just door knocked them all. There's a lot of ways that you can do it. There are so many marketers out there who are going to tell you that it is a great thing to get on their free lead program. There are so many marketers out there who are going to tell you that it is a great thing to get on their lead program where they front you the cost of the leads, and you just pay them back later. And it's the single, in my mind, biggest thing you can do to make sure that you will never actually become fully successful in this business. It is very difficult to get out of that hole.
There's one huge mistake too that hadn't been mentioned yet.
Which is?
And you'll probably agree, agents refusing to let go of a lead.
Yes.
That's good.
They want to, they got $27, $27, $30, whatever it is in that lead, and they have to milk it, and no one sells every lead. And if you let that bother you, that is a quick pass out of this business. The really good agents sell probably 20% of their leads. Really, really good agents maybe sell 25%. Superstars, 30% and up, and there's very few of them.
What about super studs?
Yeah, but there's very few of them, and I'm talking about that get a regular amount every week and stuff. Of course, somebody can get 5 leads and sell 3 of them, and they've got a 60% closing percentage and run around bragging about that. Well, you only sold 3 policies.
Right.
But I'm talking about that get leads on a regular basis, 15, 20, 25, and closing 30% of them, and they are killing it. And I use the analogy all the time of a 300 hitter in baseball. They're a superstar. They're going to make millions. Well, they don't hit it 7 out of 10 times. And do you think they sit around whining about that 70%? If they do, they're not going to hit the 300. So that even the 30% person, he's not sitting around crying about that 70% of the leads he doesn't sell. I concentrate on the ones I do sell. I don't care what's, I don't whine about it. It doesn't bother me to drop a lead in the trash, and move on. There's a certain amount of sales in every group of leads that just about anybody's going to get. I heard somebody say, I think it was probably Travis, you can send a dog with a note around his neck and might sell 1 or 2 of them. And then you've got, the others that sell, and then you've got 4 or 5 in that group that nobody's going to sell no matter what.
That's right.
And then you have a group of others that separates the agents who are going to get those in-betweens. And, but those agents don't worry about the others. I've got, of course, I never shut my leads off. My leads come for, every week. We're headed to Key West tomorrow. But for a few days, I got my leads Thursday. We're going to Aruba with KSKJ here in 3 weeks. I will get leads that week that we're gone. I never shut them off. An agent, when you start hearing that or an agent or on our group me and start talking about, maybe I'll pause my leads.
Red
You
flag.
guys ever pause your leads when they start talking that?
Red flag.
You're thinking
Disaster.
this guy is not, or girl, whoever it is not going to be around long. And if you just can't let go of a lead, and I've seen that for years and years and years. There was a guy in the business I tried to help. He's a great guy. He could be his help. He just could not let go of a lead that he paid for.
I think what you just said, though, sounds so simple, but it's so profound that someone needs to take that 4 minutes and just play it over and over again in their car, because you never stop getting leads. Because the worst feeling is to come into a Wednesday, door knocking 5 days a week, for example, and not have anybody to see or realize you door knocked all of these leads 4 times already, and you're going back to 1440 Pine Street a freaking again.
Right.
Yeah.
The best feeling could be is like what you're describing, or I'm describing coming off of a vacation series, is I'm getting leads put on my calendar and I can't even find the lead because I have so many I've lost track of them in a good manner. And that's unnerving to my OCD, but getting the leads over and over again. And it's okay to get rid of the lead because Myrtle on Edgemont Street's going to fill the card out next year and you'll see her again.
Having too many leads is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
You don't.
Example, I've got 16 counties that I cover regularly, so I put my leads by county. Now, but I'm not urban like you. Urban.
We down here in the
Your
South,
definition of urban is different. This is just one. Don't you said this is just one county. I don't know how many leads that is, but it's a bunch that I've never got to yet.
Right.
And I don't care if I do. I do.
And they're your leads. It's not like they can get resold if you don't buy them, if you don't sell them.
Right.
If I get to them, maybe some other agent will get to them first, and that's great because then when I see them later, they don't have the products I have, so that's an easy replacement. But it's but if I never see those people, I don't care because I'm doing okay. And
Nick just said something else that's an example of a disadvantage system that might lead to an agent failing, is the leads you're paying full price or damn near close to it are being resold at some point in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And then 90 days it's being resold again. And it might not seem like a problem, but it truly is because your other team might replace you. You're spending money on it. It just is not a proper way to do business.
Well, these leads aren't resold.
Right. That's the point. When you're getting leads, you need exclusive leads, and ideally not B leads. Ideally, you have the ability to go out and get brand new leads for yourself.
But the reason I'm saying another agent, I'm not saying that these are resold because these are not.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not the only company mailing in this area. They tell you got exclusive leads. Well, you got exclusive with that company, maybe.
That's right.
But you don't have exclusive with the other IMOs or Globe or AARP or anything that they're mailing to them. And our folks are serial mailers.
That's right.
My 15 leads, not this week, but last week, my 15 leads, 6 of them were already customers of mine. So even my customers keep emailing, and because I call them all anyway, and sometimes they're saying, yeah, they want to add to it, and I should have called you instead of sending that in. But sometimes they say, no, John, I don't know why I sent that thing in, and I'll just tell them, please stop. I do have to pay for this every time you send it in, and so don't mail those. And but like I said, I've been doing this. I'm in my 15th year, and I've run leads that entire time. So I'm going to see a lot of the same people.
So we covered a lot of stuff. Let's cover some stuff about it. We talked about systems. Let's talk about agents with no system and what of a nightmare that can be if you have no system at all. Nick, you want to weigh in on that really quickly?
That goes back to, I guess, you really, if you're picking an upline, you need to make sure that there's somebody who has sold final expense and who knows what they're doing. You do, I don't hear this nearly as often, but you do hear people, you know, say that they end up, this is always the big knock against people who get high contracts, right? You know, the guys that are saying, you know, I'm only going to give you a 60% contract because I'm going to train you. Because if you go to, I'm not going to name names because they might get mad, but if you go to XYZ IMO, they're going to throw you 110% contract, and then you're never going to hear from anybody ever again. You're going to have to go figure it out on your own. And that's not really true. I mean, that's those places exist, but they're not as prevalent as you would think, but they do exist. And sometimes you do end up getting somebody who is really a Medicare recruiter, and they're trying to teach you to sell final expense, but they don't sell. Or they're really an annuity guy, and they're trying to teach you to sell final expense, but they don't sell. They put together annuity illustrations. So yeah, I mean, if you don't have the right upline and you don't have a system in place that you can follow, that's your life is going to be difficult. Doesn't mean you can't succeed. At the end of the day, going out and seeing enough people, like, you know, you will eventually make sales, but it's going to be a lot harder. You know, I work a similar schedule to JD. I don't want to go outdoor knocking 5 days a week. And I think that a lot of times people don't know better than that. You know, you want to have an upline who is in the field and selling, who can teach you what's going on, because it's remarkably easy to lose touch with what's going on. I talk to, on Facebook, I talk to people who used to be in the field 8 years ago, and they give advice that doesn't make any sense to me. You want to have a system in place that's telling you that you need to buy leads every week, where they're actually making that a priority. You want to have a presentation that you can use that's a proven presentation, so you're not just walking in and saying, hey, Mildred, you want to buy some life insurance? Because that's probably not going to work out very well for you. You know, you want to make sure that whoever you're working with, the other piece of advice I give people is you want to talk to whoever's your upline is going to be before you sign a contract with them, and spend some time with them talking to them, because you got to make sure that you can actually work with these people. You know, but there are things to consider when choosing an upline, and maybe we can do an entire show on that at some point in the future. But
yeah,
you got to make sure you have a system, and that before you sign up with anybody, that they can tell you that it exists and what it is, because otherwise, you know, like I said, that's the reason I didn't sign up with the guy. I was given some good advice, both from the insurance forums and from other people in my life, saying, you know, this guy, you know, when you asked him what the presentation is, his response was, well, you just kind of go in there and you chat with them for a little bit, and then you ask them if they want to buy insurance. And that's not a good system, guys. That's bad. A presentation is a good idea. A set presentation. Some idea of whether or not they're going to be teaching you how to knock on doors or call and set appointments is a good idea. They should be able to talk to you about these things in advance. You know, you want to be set up for success.
Speaking of system, we are on our system, and we're running right at about 45 minutes.
Oh.
So I'm going to start shutting us down. Chris, do you have any final words on anything?
Well, I would just parlay the question over to JD and say, why do you think in 30 seconds you're successful, since we've been talking about why people wouldn't be successful?
Why am I successful?
Yes, sir.
Just a lot of it's just pure damn luck, you know. But you know, yeah, I'm a student of this business, and you know, I mean, like I said, I learned that system in the beginning and just followed it because I didn't know what I was doing. You know, 15 years later, I got an idea of what I'm doing, but I never stopped learning that. You know, when I was with Equita, they had, of course, we had our Friday calls, which is continued, but they had what they called their plug and learn, which I did some of them and stuff, but they were on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Their plug and learn calls.
Right.
I was on every one of them. I never missed one. If I couldn't make it during the day, they recorded them, so I listened to it at night. Travis continued the Friday calls after he started FEX. I've never missed a Friday call. We have the symposium annually. I've never missed one of those. When they have a meeting, the group me, I'm constantly plugged into that and learning. I've learned, Nick has been with us. I guess this is the 5th year now that Nick probably has been with us. And man, I've learned so much from Nick, in this business. I've been in it 15 years. He's been in it, a third of that. And I've learned a ton from Nick. And not just, we've got so many people, and I got, Matt Mungia, he's not with my IMO, but, Matt and I are friends, and talk to him and learn. Tim Wenders, and Tim's still a great friend of mine, and, I'm always constantly learning from those kind of people. But somebody else you learn from, and maybe you learn more from, is the folks who don't make it.
Yeah.
Because the times they were there and you're listening to their ideas, and sometimes they even may sound like a good idea on the surface, and then 3 months later they're gone. And so you're saying, oh, I shouldn't do what they were saying then. That didn't work. And, but, the biggest thing, even, I don't care how good a salesman you are, if I didn't have those leads like I was showing you, I ain't got anybody to sell to. So, you got to have leads. You got to have that coming in. The people who will cold canvas, they call it, going out and just knock on the doors or cold call people who hadn't sent in a lead, God bless them. That's not going to be me.
Yeah.
I've never knocked on a door. I've never cold knocked on a door in my career. I've never cold called in my career, and I'm not going to. What do they call it? The T.
Oh, yes. Working the T.
You go to one house, and then you go to the neighbors and things like that.
Well, see, where I started Lead for
If this business becomes I got to do that, see you later.
Yeah, and where I started, we didn't have the T. We did the H. We did both sides of the street. We it was worse where I was at. We did the H. So we did across the street, left and right, and the 2 houses to the right. So we did the H. But
you mean neighborhood enrollment?
Yeah, man, neighborhood enrollment. I'm in the neighborhood. I was just talking to your neighbor. I'd love to talk to you about it. We've all seen it, but guys,
I used to go around with lists of people's names in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
these are all people who are already clients.
That's right. Everybody's everybody but John has done it. But I mean, John. It's been JD. It's been an honor having you on here. I mean, such a humble guy for when we go, hey man, so how are you successful? He goes, just dumb luck. I tell you.
and just because I don't think he did a great job of introducing himself. I mean, JD is one of the legends in the history of final expense. He is taught me so much personally. There is a lot of stuff that I've said on previous videos here I'm pretty much just saying what JD said. Along with Travis Tubbs have taught me pretty much everything that I know. Build out handful of people. But he's produced, how many years in a row have you produced $200,000 or more now, JD? 10? What is it?
10 years.
10 years? Yeah. 10 years.
2018 was 10 years.
Yeah. $200,000 a year or more of final expense every year for 10 years is consistency like you don't see very often. I mean, he's somebody who knows what he's talking about, and he's somebody that people really should be listening to. And that being said, not to take people away from our channel, but if you go and you do a Google search for interviews with John Duggar, final expense, you'll come up with 4 or 5 or 6 other really good interviews. One done that Scott did for our IMO, one that Dave Duford did, a 3-part series. They're worth checking out. If I can, I'll pull up links and I'll put them in the description.
Yeah, and Chris, you want to give everybody a disclaimer that you normally do?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing we said here is a representation of our current organizations, any particular carriers, any past organizations, and it's just simply the humble thoughts of now 4 guys from several different organizations that just wanted to share their thoughts with you.
Yeah. So, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure here. We've almost got it all the way to an hour. So, I mean, I could sit here and talk on a Friday night with somebody like John for hours and hours and hours and hours and just talk about the business. Because if I can get somebody who's been in the business that long, who doesn't mind pouring his knowledge into somebody that's been here for 3 years, and every bit of what he said is just hit me right in the head, and I'm like, duh, I'm going to take that. I'm going to use it. I'm going to take that. I'm going to use it. Just been an absolute pleasure having you in here, JD. And Chris, always a pleasure, man. You always on point with the timing of what you say. And of course, Nick is just a mirror of what JD is. And so he's always speaking nothing but nuggets. And then there's Matt. And that's just, I just do what I do. But I have fun doing it. I learn from every one of you guys. But it's been a pleasure. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this with interviews like legends like JD and things like that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell button. You're going to get a notification. We're so close to 100 subscribers. We're already thinking about a giveaway for 300 subscribers. Maybe we're going to throw it out in the air. Maybe we can talk about it now, but maybe an interview with Chris, Nick, and Matthew for one of the 300 subscribers that we have one day. And as long as it's not JD, we can't teach JD anything. He'll say that we can, but well, I knew you're going to say we can, because he's like you just said, he's a student of the game. But we absolutely love having everybody on here. A lot of people have reached out and said they love what we're doing. And so we're very humbled that you guys take the time to watch something an hour out of your day. And so we're just absolutely thrilled to be here. Any of y'all want to say anything else, or are we going to knock it off?
Leave a comment if you have questions that you'd like to ask somebody like JD. Even if he doesn't read the questions, I can get the questions to him and I can get you answers. And shoot us emails, theinsurancepanel@gmail.com. We're going to try and answer questions in future videos. So,
all right.
Thanks,
guys. Y'all be good.
Hey, folks. Thanks for tuning in. JD was an awesome guest to have. The guy's been in the business for 15 years, and he absolutely spews knowledge accidentally. We loved having him. We know that 33% of you that are watching this have not subscribed yet, so if you haven't, like it, comment, and subscribe. And also hit the little notification bell down there so you know when we're going live. We love the feedback. We can't wait to do more of these videos. Reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks.